The demon with a deformed face and a concave head stared down at the man beneath it. It only wanted to strangle the man and take his place. That way, it could roam freely in the real world. After all, it had been dormant for 20 years, and it was time to come out and set things straight in the human realm. The man's name was James. He worked for a news aggregation website company. His main job at the company was creating graphic novels and comics. James mostly updated life story comics, and the comments section often contained unfriendly remarks. James would occasionally receive a random, lucky, high-energy greeting. Confused but also defiant, James would respond in kind. At the same time, his colleague, Rona, advised him not to waste his time on it. Two boys chatted casually on social media accounts, finding joy in pranks. Soon, they received a warning message from someone named Dear David. The boys disregarded the warning and boldly asked 3 questions. In the middle of the night, one of the boys woke up abruptly from his sleep. He found himself trapped in sleep paralysis. A hand crawled onto his body. Eventually, the boy was killed by that hand. James went home, continuing to publish his life comics, while not forgetting to clap back at online users. When James finished replying to all the comments, a user named Dear David suddenly started following him and left a message. James ignored it and went straight to bed. The next morning, when James woke up, he found the rocking chair by his window was moving on its own. After work, James walked alone in the underground passage on his way home. A chilling sensation crept up on the back of his head. James quickly ran back home. Late at night, James woke up again in a fright. He saw the rocking chair by the window shaking again. At that moment, James found himself completely paralyzed. He saw the half-faced boy suddenly appearing. James was instantly terrified and fell off the bed. After enduring the night, James finally made it to the morning. He updated his status on social media. Last night, he saw a boy sitting on the rocking chair. During work, James felt drowsy. Suddenly, a disheveled woman passed by him. James followed the woman to the company's terrace. As he opened the door, the company terrace transformed into a supermarket. The woman then gestured towards James, indicating him to draw something. The woman kept repeating, "You've seen my son, Am? You can ask him, but you can only ask 2 questions." James asked, "Why?" The woman suddenly turned her head, revealing a horrifying face. James was frightened. Lorna stayed with James at his home until late, but she couldn't stay overnight. After comforting James, she went back home. James couldn't sleep at all. He lay in bed, staring with wide eyes at the rocking chair in front of the window. The rocking chair moved again in the middle of the night. James found himself unable to move again. He foolishly asked the first question. Suddenly, a sentence appeared on his desktop word game. It said that if he asked the 3rd question, he would face dire consequences. James updated his status on social media. To escape from the boy, he actually moved houses. He moved from downstairs to upstairs. However, even after moving, James couldn't find peace. Every night, the 2 cats in his home would stare horrifyingly at the door crack. When James looked outside through the peephole, he quickly got scared and hid under the covers. James documented all these strange occurrences and updated them on his social media account. During work, James was surprised to find his boss and colleagues waiting for him in the meeting room. It turned out that James' horrifying experiences had gone viral on social media. James' boss was delighted and asked him to continue writing horror stories in that manner. His stories would definitely become a hit for the company. James could only comply with his boss's advice. Lorna helped James find various purification rituals. They both sprinkled holy water and salt, but in the late night, those actions had no effect whatsoever. A wisp of smoke blew in through the door crack. A terrifying skeletal face appeared. Just when James couldn't move, he fearfully asked the 2nd question, "What do you want from me?" The boy on the rocking chair looked at the typewriter. Then, the boy suddenly lifted the typewriter and gestured to smash it towards James. James woke up in fear. He updated his status on social media. "The boy wants to harm me." James' story continued to ferment on social media. As James suffered greatly from the torment of the boy, David, his number of followers started to rapidly increase. James could feel his life being threatened. James updated his status on social media. "For the first time, I truly feel that this home is not safe." In the late night, James fell asleep again. A hand reached out from under the bed and pulled James down. James woke up, but he couldn't move. He was being dragged and moved on the floor. Both of his house cats let out terrifying growls. James felt the surrounding environment suddenly change. He seemed to be pulled into an underground basement. In front of him, a little boy was browsing the internet in the darkness. The web pages the boy was browsing were all peculiar content. Suddenly, the boy's father unplugged the computer's power cord. The boy's father scolded him. Then, David grabbed his father's neck and choked him until he stopped breathing. James witnessed David's mother smashing the computer monitor onto David's head. David's head caved in, falling beside James. James updated his status on social media. This time, he drew a picture of David, a horrifying boy with a caved-in head. James invited someone to come to his house and see why that boy, David, kept haunting him. What did you do to provoke him? Did you do something to attract his attention? Indeed, James' sharp language in response to online users on the internet had attracted David's attention. However, since James asked the first question to David, he had already started provoking David with the help of enthusiastic netizens. James learned that David had been unconscious since his mother hit him on the head. He was being treated at Maria Hospital. When James heard the news that David was still alive, he breathed a sigh of relief. He quickly rushed to Maria Hospital to find David. He was informed that David had passed away a few days ago. James found the home of David's attending physician, hoping to find some answers, but he was half a step too late. The attending physician had died. James updated his status on social media. He was on the verge of madness. James drank some alcohol and fell asleep on the couch. In the middle of the night, James woke up. He discovered that his hand was uncontrollably harming himself. James was terrified. He could only use voice commands to wake up his phone assistant and try to seek help from his friends. At a critical moment, he realized how unreliable the voice assistant in his phone was. The call didn't go through. James was already broken inside. He went to work at the company in a daze, only to discover that his phone had sent many rude messages to Rona last night. When a colleague asked James to review a manuscript, he found that the content of the manuscript was a curse against himself. James became angry and started jumping up and down. He noticed that the same curse text was pressed on other colleagues' computers as well. James lost his sanity and started going crazy in the office. James' boss quickly came out to control him and asked him to calm down. It was only then that James realized that those were actually normal popular science articles. James' boss gave him time off and asked him to go home and rest. James returned home, but he still couldn't calm down from his anger. He started updating social media with comics attacking David, openly challenging him. Suddenly, the freshly drawn comic on his computer disappeared. James checked the file save history, but it was completely blank. Unintentionally, James asked the third question that he would regret for the rest of his life. David showed up at his doorstep. At this moment, James felt like he had entered a game called Burning Oneself. He became the controlled protagonist in the game. He was being controlled and ran towards the kitchen. James smashed a bottle and poured it on himself, then turned on the gas and stuffed himself inside. In reality, James was lying on the floor at home. The fire in the house was spreading. Suddenly, David, with a depressed skull, lunged at James. Downstairs, Rona and James' friend passing by noticed the fire in the house. They hurriedly went upstairs to rescue James. In the struggle, James picked up the modem on the ground and smashed it at David, until David had no reaction whatsoever. Later, he fell down the stairs. Unconscious, James was dragged out of the house by his friend and Rona. David, fallen on the floor, turned into a wisp of smoke and dissipated. When James regained consciousness in the ambulance, he seemed much more gloomy. He frequently spoke in incomprehensible words. The reflection on the car window also transformed into the likeness of David. The main story ends here. The following depicts David continuing to curse other individuals who use impolite language on the website. A female internet celebrity asked 3 questions and unexpectedly, she uncontrollably slammed her head violently on the desk. In an instant, blood filled the woman's nose and mouth. She repeatedly struck the table several times in agony, screaming in pain. The screen flashed with the image of the boy sitting in front of the computer. The video ends here. The story plot is not difficult to connect. In the end, James had his body taken over by David. From then on, he transformed into a demon of the online world. Actually, since his childhood, David was addicted to the internet and really hated being insulted by others. His parents were deeply concerned about this. Eventually, the boy strangled his father under his father's scolding because he couldn't stand the constant questioning and insults from others. This dissatisfaction was even evident in his afterlife as he sought out keyboard warriors on the internet and cruelly killed them. The film roughly conveys the message that we should not become keyboard warriors, as those who insult and belittle others will eventually face consequences. It also emphasizes that we must not neglect real-life interactions due to an obsession with the online world. In the end, Ellis defeats his negative self and returns to the real world. People who find themselves in difficult situations should not be afraid of despair. By opening up and communicating with those close to us, our mood will naturally improve. The harm caused by online violence is often underestimated. Just like the boys at the beginning, who thought they were just playing harmless pranks, they would insult internet users without any significant costs. However, let's not forget that everyone is equal in the online world, just like physical fights in real life. Online violence is akin to physically assaulting someone's spirit. These actions cause substantial harm to individuals. If we were to consider those who are subjected to hateful words and curses as our own family or loved ones. How would keyboard warriors feel in their hearts? Alright, see you next time.